Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking about the Kamala Harris's campaign attack on Trump, calling him weird, calling Republicans weird, calling his VP in particular weird, despite seeming like kind of a benign attack that doesn't really seem very effective. This has actually been a monstrously effective attack. Many people on the left and right are resonating with it and start to agree, actually. Republicans have gotten really weird. A lot of the things they're doing are weird. A lot of the things they're doing at their convention, their policies, their everything just seems really weird to a lot of people. And over the past, let's say, decade, even in the Trump years, a lot of people have failed to really attack Trump in an effective way, but this weird attack has become actually extremely effective.
Using that term weird, by the way, we continue to point that out. Kamala HQ, that's her campaign on X, just put out 3 minutes ago a quote from JD Vance of him saying, "I certainly would like abortion to be illegal nationally," unquote, from JD Vance. They quoted him on that, the Harris campaign, and calling it, "This is weird behavior." Weird, weird, weird. Everything about, again, Vance is weird. Does Vance actually have a problem? And then how about the campaigning using that term weird for Republicans?
Well, let me tell you something, brother. You know something? When I came here tonight, there was so much energy in this room. I felt maybe I was in Madison Square Garden getting ready to win another world title. Vibe was so intense. The energy was so crazy. It felt like maybe I was going to press that no-good, stinky giant over my head and slam him through the mat, brother.
What up, America? If you're ready for President Trump to take the stage, I need everybody to stand up.
The election booth, this is old Chicago days. Will you be asking?
Wow, what a beautiful day. Thank you.
Devices, your laptop, tablet, what have you. We do all of it. And then it sends a report to your accountability partner. So my accountability partner right now is Jack, my son, right? And so he's 17. So he and I get a report of all the things that are on our phones or all of our devices once a week. If anything objectionable comes up, your accountability partner gets an immediate notice. I'm proud to tell you my son he's got a clean slate.
So when Trump and Biden were in the race, it often became a contest. Who was, let's say, cringier? Who made more gaffes? Who said more weird things? Obviously, Biden ended up winning that competition, and he ended up saying more weird things. Now, with Biden out of the race, this means Trump is now the oldest candidate in American history, which does not reflect well on him. In addition to that, all the weird things he keeps saying, he now no longer has someone to point to and say, okay, but he's saying more weird things because it's no longer a competition. Kamala Harris is not doing gaffes and things like that. In addition to that, Trump still has the old baggage of his coup attempt, which many Trumpers want to downplay, but it's kind of hard to continue to downplay that when you have Trump continuing to say very weird remarks about grabbing power and people not needing to vote again and many things like that.
The Continental Army suffered a bitter winter of Valley Forge, found glory across the waters of the Delaware, and seized victory from Cornwallis of Yorktown. Our Army manned the airport. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do. It took over the airport.
Well, look, you're seeing that. And this observation of weird came from people I know, my friends, my relatives, Republicans. Some of them that this is just awkward. They're awkward. And it stems from who's asking for this crazy stuff? Who's asking to raise the price of insulin? Who's asking to get rid of birth control?
Vote absentee, vote on election day. I don't care how, but you have to get out and vote. And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Trump also continues to have the weird baggage that he accumulated over his first term. People like me were affected by many of his decisions. When he decided that he wanted to get rid of net neutrality, the prices of internet for me absolutely skyrocketed.
Trump appointed Ajit Pai, a former Verizon lawyer, to head of the FCC. Ajit Pai made it his mission to remove net neutrality, instead of addressing any concerns that people had with the removal of net neutrality and the damage it might cause to internet prices. He instead made this video.
You can still gram your food. Quality. Viral selfie or just...
The price of internet in America increased dramatically.
He won because the election was rigged.
We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here we're going to walk down to the Capitol.
Despite many of Trump's clips now making the rounds as people are noticing that he's getting more and more power hungry, his allies continue to try to downplay what he's saying and get him to clarify them in a more benign light, meaning they're trying to downplay them rather severely. Trump does not seem to want to downplay anything of what he's saying, though, which kind of makes this a very weird game between him and his supporters, which is something I want to talk about real quick. A lot of people seem to enjoy Trump because he always tells it like it is and he tells the truth and blah, blah, blah. But then whenever he says something that goes a little bit too far, people say, oh, he was joking. So he's always in this quantum state of he tells it like it is. He tells the truth. He never lies. But also everything he's saying is a joke if you take it the wrong way. Well, unfortunately, as we have decades of Trump now, and we have him continuing to say more and more things, it's getting increasingly difficult for his allies to try to downplay all of it. A lot of people are starting to pick up the pieces, put them together, and notice, you know, all of this is coming together to this guy really wants to very much stay in office permanently if he wins the next election.
They're also attacking you for other ridiculous reasons. They're saying that you said to a crowd of Christians that they won't have to vote in the future.
Jewish people, if you're Jewish and you vote for Biden or the Democrats or Kamala or whoever's going to run, I guess it's going to be her. But if you voted for her or the Democrats, you should have your head examined because nobody's ever been treated so badly by this. This administration is destroying Israel, et cetera, et cetera. So with respect to like a statement like I made, that statement is very simple. I said, vote for me. You're not going to have to do it ever again. It's true. Christians are not known as a big voting group. They don't vote. And I'm explaining that to them. You never vote. This time, vote. I'll straighten out the country. You won't have to vote anymore. I won't need your vote. You can go back to
you meant you don't have to vote for you because you have 4 years in office.
Look. Christians are known. You know who else doesn't vote? Gun owners don't vote.
But just to be clear, what you're saying, though, you're not saying it's being interpreted as you are not surprised to hear by the left as well. They're never going to have another election. He's saying there's not. So
first time I've even heard.
Can you even just respond to that?
I said Christians. I started off by saying, just so you understand, you never vote. Don't worry about the future. You have to vote on November 5th. After that, you don't have to worry about voting anymore. I don't care because we're going to fix it. The country will be fixed, and we won't even need your vote anymore.
I'm not doing anything. I'm just a regular person like everybody else is. This is our building.
Why did Greenland have to specify it was not for sale? In private messages, Trump was apparently very insistent on buying Greenland, so much so that Denmark, which owns Greenland, repeatedly had to inform Trump they were not selling Greenland. This culminated in Greenland having to publicly inform Trump that he could not buy Greenland.
In some of the conversations, an apparently skeptical President Trump asked kids if they believe in Santa.
Are you still a believer in Santa? Because at 7 it's marginal, right? Having nuclear, my uncle was a great professor and scientist and engineer, Dr. John Trump at MIT. Good genes, very good genes, okay? Very smart. The Wharton School of Finance, very good, very smart. You know, if you're a conservative Republican, if I were a liberal, if I ran as a liberal Democrat, they would say I'm one of the smartest people anywhere in the world. It's true. But when you're a conservative Republican, they try, do they do a number? That's why I always thought of, went to Wharton, was a good student, went there, did this, built the, I have to give my credentials all the time because we're at a little disadvantage. But you look at the nuclear deal, the thing that really bothers me, it would have been so easy, and it's not as important as these lives are. Nuclear is so powerful. My uncle explained that to me many, many years ago, the power, and that was 35 years ago. He would explain the power of what's going to happen, and he was right. Who would have thought? But when you look at what's going on with the 4 prisoners, now it used to be 3, now it's 4. But when it was 3, and even now, I would have said it's all in the messenger.
Now enters JD Vance, possibly the worst VP pick ever in presidential history. Now, my personal opinion is despite all the bad things that Trump has done, JD Vance being his vice presidential pick does count for cruel and unusual punishment, and I believe that we cannot force him to carry JD Vance to term. He's bad. He's really bad. Everything about him is bad. I don't know how he got picked as VP. I don't know if other people just didn't want the job. Was he the only person willing to attach his name to Trump at this point? I don't understand. Everything he does is bad. He has negative charisma. He seems to damage the Trump campaign at every turn. It's just awful. I mean, I hate Trump, I mean, as you can clearly see, because I pay attention here, and I feel bad for him. I feel like JD Vance has single-handedly managed to just completely torpedo Trump's campaign. He seems to say the quiet part out loud more times than he should, which means a lot of people are cluing in onto what Trump is actually doing much quicker than I think Trump wants them to be cluing in on it. And he does it in a way that just earns him absolutely no favor from anyone. He's abysmal.
Final point I'll make is you go on Twitter, and almost always the people who are most deranged and most psychotic are people who don't have kids at home.
JD Vance made a tweet making fun of a woman for getting violated by a dolphin. Several members of the community noticed the bolded woman and dolphin meant he specifically searched for those 2 words together. Does this mean JD Vance wanted to see women and dolphins together? For what purpose did he want to see that? Many people are now questioning if bestiality is behind this.
News had broken that Trump had reached the age in which he needed to wear diapers. His bowels were no longer strong enough to contain his fecal matter, and when it spilled out, a diaper was needed to contain the foul discharge. His supporters came out in droves with such slogans as "diapers over Dems" and "real men wear diapers." This was a bit odd.
It is the weirdest thing to me. Democrats say that it is racist to believe, well, they say it's racist to do anything. I had a Diet Mountain Dew yesterday and one today. I'm sure they're going to call that racist too, but it's good. I love you guys.
Look, I'm under no illusions that elections are just a policy exercise. A lot of it is vibes, a lot of it is style. But if your party has been systematically against unions, against a higher minimum wage, against things like paid family leave, against overtime, then just because you found Hulk Hogan and Kid Rock and put him on stage doesn't make you a friend of the working man, right?
Calling you weird, does that hurt your feelings? How do you feel about that?
No, not at all. It doesn't hurt my feelings.
No, JD Vance did not have sex with a couch.
Now, I brought you all here for a big announcement, and I guess it's time that I actually get on to making the announcement part. What is it? Well, that's bad timing. All right. Thank you, sir. That's fine. There we go.
As I mentioned earlier, JD Vance has a really bad habit of saying the quiet part out loud. Trump has a large history of lying about everything all the time, constantly. And a lot of people don't figure out that he's lying until the election day. So for example, Trump lied about weed and he lied about legalizing weed. And a lot of people thought that he was going to be pro-weed, and obviously not. So one of the things we have now is the Heritage Foundation, Project 2025. Now, Project 2025 is the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation has been working very closely with Republicans for a very long time. They worked closely with Trump on his 2016 campaign, on his 2020 campaign. JD Vance himself says they've been working close with Republicans for 50 years. Their leaders worked directly under Trump earlier. JD Vance continues to give away that they are working directly with the Heritage Foundation. Project 2025, their policy plan, is extremely bad. It is getting very much bad attention. Because of that, Trump went out of his way to lie multiple times, saying he had no idea about it. Despite that, there's ample evidence that obviously he knows about it. Obviously, he's worked with these people. And JD Vance doesn't seem to have gotten the memo that they need to lie about this to try to cover it up for a little bit.
I know nothing about Project 2025. I have no idea who is behind it. I disagree with some of the things they're saying, and some of the things they're saying are absolutely ridiculous and abysmal. Anything they do, I wish them luck, but I have nothing to do with them.
And I want to thank especially Kevin Roberts and all of the Heritage Foundation for 50 years of incredible work on conservative policy. The old famous...
Trump did not, in fact, have nothing to do with the Heritage Foundation. Although they have since removed mentions of their leadership and their biography from their website, there is still a very large data trail of who is behind it. These are the three main figures behind Project 2025. Paul Dans is Trump's former chief of staff. Spencer Chrétien served as Trump's special assistant. Troop Hemingway served as associate director for national security in the Office of Presidential Personnel. They did not even remove their biography from the website. They just removed the links to it. You can still search their name and find their biography on their own website and see their connections with Trump. These are not smart people.
The critical job of institutions such as Heritage is to lay the groundwork, and Heritage does such an incredible job at that. And I'm telling you, with Kevin and the staff, and I met so many of them now, I took pictures with among the most handsome, beautiful people I've ever seen. I didn't like that picture. If you could lose that picture, please, would you, Kevin? But this is a great, no, he says I won't do that. But this is a great group, and they're going to lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our movement will do and what your movement will do when the American people give us a colossal mandate to save America. And that's coming. That's coming.
If we're going to actually really affect real change in the country, it will require us completely replacing the existing ruling class with another ruling class. I say that knowing and hearing myself, it sounds really hard. It is really hard. But I don't think there's like a detente with these people. I don't think there's sort of a compromise.
I believe in policy over politics.
Yeah.
And without question, Kamala Harris's policies are what I get behind. So I will be voting for Kamala Harris. And if I'm asked, I will campaign for her without hesitation.
Good. And
So Trump has a large storied history of lying, and his policies in the past were terrible. His policies in the future are even worse. His own family is on the state of policy, not voting with Trump anymore. There also seems to be a recurring issue of many Republicans having said absolutely terrible, weird things in the past. That will continue to hit them. They continue to have the worst quotable things imaginable. In addition to that, JD Vance just continues to run his mouth and isolate the Trump campaign further and further from very large segments of the population. Now they seem to be attacking anyone without children and women as a whole, which I do believe makes up a large amount of the population, and they kind of do need that vote. So Trump is isolating people by being weird. His vice president is isolating people, and Republicans as a whole just have so much history of having said terrible things that more and more people just don't want to be associated with them anymore. And I'm not saying everyone who is right wing, I'm not saying everyone who is Republican is with these people, but as the social group of Republicans continue to have more and more baggage on them, yes, a lot of people just don't want to be associated with them anymore.
Okay, so if an abortion could be considered in a case of, say, a tubal pregnancy or something like that, what about in the case of rape? Should it be legal or not?
Well, you know, people always want to try and make that as one of those things. Well, how do you slice this particularly tough sort of ethical question? It seems to me, first of all, from what I understand from doctors, that's really rare. If it's a legitimate rape, the female body has ways to try to shut that whole thing down. But let's assume that maybe that didn't work or something.
누가 상상할 수 있었겠습니까? 그럼 최고령 자동지와.
So we are forced to spend time and money on fighting crooked Joe Biden. He polls badly after having a terrible debate and quits the race. Now we have to start all over again. Shouldn't the Republican Party be reimbursed for fraud in that everybody around Joe, including his doctors and the fake news media, knew he was not capable of running for or being president? Just askin'?
Saying is that we're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC.
JD, Senator, welcome back to the show. It's great to see you.
Good to see you, Megan. Thank you.
So Jesus didn't have kids, therefore you are wrong.
Explicitly said in my remarks, despite the fact the media has lied about this, that this is not about criticizing people who for various reasons didn't have kids. Cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. Having kids is good. The entire Democrat Party is like this childless cabal.
These are weird people on the other side. They want to take books away. They want to be in your exam room. That's what it comes down to. And don't, get sugarcoating this. These are weird ideas. Listen to them speak. Listen to how they talk about things. Listen to how your previous guests were right. Like you said, they've told them that they shouldn't talk about race. They can't help it. It is built into their DNA.
House GOP leaders urge members stop making race comments about Harris. House Republican leaders told lawmakers to focus on criticizing Vice President Kamala Harris's record without reference to her race and gender, following caustic remarks from some Republicans attacking her on the basis of identity.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly would like abortion to be illegal nationally. In that environment, if people see Republicans not as the party that's trying to make it easier to have babies, but is just trying to take people's rights away, then we're going to lose.
But is just trying to take people's rights away, then we're going to lose.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly would like abortion to be illegal nationally.
Trump once predicted that a hurricane would strike Alabama. The hurricane, unfortunately, was not predicted by weather services to hit Alabama. Trump took a Sharpie and drew onto the graph prepared by the weather services and used it as evidence that he was right, and the hurricane was going to hit Alabama. The hurricane did not hit Alabama.